back, everyone. Today we're here with another informational video. Seeing that we just got the 6-speed manual F80 M3 coming from the DCT, I'm gonna want to go ahead and do a comparison video of the DCT versus the 6-speed manual. I know there is a bunch of other videos on the internet about these cars. There's a bunch of stuff in forums, but I wanted to come and give my own personal opinion on these cars, seeing that I just daily drove a DCT for 2 years, and this is about my first couple weeks, probably 2 or 3 weeks owning this car, and I wanted to give you my overview. Now, a little bit of backstory. This is my actual dream car. I've always dreamed about having a 6-speed manual F80 M3. I bought the DCT because it was a local deal from a old friend, and I really was in love with these cars, and that was the only car I could afford at the time. It was the peak of the market. Everything was still like 45, 50 grand for kind of the beat and abused ones, higher miles. Everything that was super nice, super clean was still like high 50s or in the mid 50s. So now that I'm able to be finally having my dream car, I kind of regret to inform you that my opinion has drastically changed over these cars. I was kind of neglectful, and I didn't really appreciate my DCT because I always thought that, you know, it's just automatic. Now, after owning that car for 2 years straight and having this car for about a month, I can say that my opinion has kind of drastically changed and swayed, going back and forth. And I'm kind of on the edge. I really love 6-speed. It's been an amazing car. It feels so hands-on, and it's a completely different experience. But that goes back to the same thing, that DCT is an amazing car itself, and those cars are amazing in function and performance, and these cars are more of a fun sports car for the weekend. That's not one of the points in the video, but that's just my personal opinion. I am definitely in love with both of these cars. Manual wins my heart just because I feel like it's more special, but DCT is not something to be played with or not something to be swayed away from. It's crazy to see in the forums that more people are looking for a DCT than manual, and more people prefer DCT over manual. So now let's get into 5 things that are majorly different, and the 5 things that I've noticed right off the bat while only having this car for a few weeks. Now, my first point is probably the most noticeable, and the thing that everyone says in these cars. Go ahead and look in the interior for this point of view. This car, in between shifts, is where you absolutely understand and know that this car is manual. Coming from a DCT, the shift speeds are lightning quick, so fast that you don't even understand you just shifted. That car throws you back every time it shifts. And well, in this car, honestly, it's a little underwhelming. The shifter is what I like to say good for a newer car, but I haven't really driven anything new that's manual. But coming from an older Beamer, I feel like it keeps the roots while also getting a newer feel. This throw is a little longer than normal. I would say it's definitely not a short shifter. It's definitely not a shorter throw, but it is definitely easy to shift and find the gears. It's not so tight where you don't understand where the gears are, or if you're kind of worried about missing a gear. But you definitely know that it is a longer throw. The clutch is lighter than ever. It's probably one of the lightest clutches I've ever felt. It does throw you off a little bit, at least for me in the beginning. When you first push the clutch in, you have to release it almost all the way to right here to get engagement, versus all the way back here. Here's where it engages. That's quite a bit of the slack, and the top of the pedal is when it actually releases. So it does throw you off for a little bit. It's kind of most of a dead pedal. A lot of older M cars are very firm, and the travel is probably like back and forth like this, if that even. And that's even stock clutches. So if you have aftermarket or lighter weight flywheels, it's a lot firmer. And just in general, my M5 clutch feels like a rock compared to this. This is a feather. It's complete 180, complete the opposite. But going back to the turbo lag, when you shift in this car, you'll be speeding, and then you shift and you let off into the next gear, and it's just a dead stop. It's like this car pulls like a freight train, and then you just come to an absolute wall. It just completely stops, and you have to ramp back up into boost, and then it's like taking off in another gear. But the whole thing is you're full throttle the entire time. You lift off. Obviously, these cars don't have wide open shifts, but that is an option, and I know it does help, but I feel like that's just abusing the car at that point. So getting out of here and getting into the next gear, it's definitely a major setback in these cars for shifting. DCT is lightning speed. Obviously, you never let off the gas, so you don't run into any problems with boost or falling out of boost. This car, it's like hitting a wall when you shift. I know there's some things that will help. I know there's tunes. Like I said, wide open shifting, but we don't want any of that. A tune will be where I go in the future. Other than that, I don't see myself doing much more to combat kind of the falling out of boost. It is a manual car. It's just something that's going to happen. The only way to really combat that is how fast you shift. But then again, I don't really feel like, you know, shifting as fast as I can and dumping the clutch in the next gear. I'm sure everyone else does that, it's no problem, but I'm still getting used to this car and I don't like abusing it. But that's just my perspective and my point of view. Number one, falling out of boost is a huge issue, but DCT doesn't have that issue. You slap it into the pedal, into the next gear, and that car throws you back in the seat and continues pulling like a freight train. By the time you hit that paddle, you're already going 10, 20 miles an hour more before you even realize that, and that car does not stop pulling all the way through. So that car definitely has a huge advantage over shifting on a manual car. Number two for me has to be the actual connection and feel to the car. And I know this is probably most the generic, you know, most statement that everyone uses, but it is for a fact, a real thing. Everyone, when you have a manual car, you feel connected to the car, you feel glued to the car. You really are in control of that car. When you come from an automatic car, you just sit there and you drive. I mean, I'd be driving with my leg up in the air. I'd be moving in all types of positions. You can really just sit there and comfortable, and you don't have to get out of that position to go fast. But in this car, you can't do that. I mean, maybe you can move your leg to the side on the freeway or at a red light, but then as soon as the light turns green, you have to hop back into position, and sometimes that can throw you off or you're not in the right position. It just all depends on you as a driver. But a DCT car, you're in that chair lounged out and you can go fast at any moment. You could chill at the red light and you don't have to get out of your position to continue going. This car, you have to stay in position, but that also gives you more of a raw feeling and more of a connection to the car. You are really in control of the car and letting the car know what to do, and the car is responding to you. So I do feel like this is a way more of a connection. If you're looking for a sporty car and something to have fun in, I believe that this is the car for you. No matter what, these cars are incredible dailies, and these cars are insane cars all around. DCT or manual, you will not go wrong and not regret this car. You might have a regret going manual just because it is more work, but having the DCT, I feel like you have this option to get bored of. This you can't, because you have to kind of stay on your tippy toes. You have to be aware and you have to be ready for this car. But then again, that also brings the problem that some of you might hate this car in traffic. You might want to relax at some point going on a longer drive. In this car, it really can't, but on the highway, it's really not a problem. It depends also on where you live. I am in Vegas and there's a lot of stop and go traffic. Everywhere you go, you run into traffic, parking's tight. There's a lot of different scenarios where you're not really moving, and this car kind of sucks in it. But then you take a car on the back road or out at nighttime when there's nobody out, and this car absolutely shines and dominates the street, while being one of the most fun and sporty cars that money can buy you for the price. So you really can't go wrong with it. You feel way more connected in a manual. I feel like I'm really in control. A DCT, I feel like that car's a tool and I'm just sitting there using it. This car, I really feel like you have to sit there and manually work it. This car is the equivalent of manual labor versus just sitting at a desk and not doing anything. But this is much more rewarding and much more fun. I do apologize for not having my DCT car here. I will get a small clip of that when we get back to the house. But that car is tucked away in storage because I am selling it and I am no longer going to be driving that car or using it. I saw that insurance quote, and for my age, goddamn, I'm not paying $1,000 a month for two cars and having high ass deductibles. I will just keep that car in storage and wait till that car to be sold. But option number three, something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but surprisingly, Taylor Ray did shout this out on one of the forums I was just looking through, not the other day. But in a DCT car cruising on the freeway, I usually cruise at, 80, sometimes 90 on a high freeway going to another state. But you can cruise all day long at that RPM and that speed. And the RPM will only be 2,500 to maybe 3,000 if you're pushing the car, but you feel like that car is just sleeping, ready to go at any moment, but it's just chilling. It's not stressing the car, it's not pushing it, it's not over revving it. But in a manual car, I'm driving 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour less, and the car is singing that 3K, 3,500, and it just seems like I'm using the car and I'm pushing it. Don't get me wrong, I'm well aware this car can handle it. This car is built for this. It's not abusing the car. It's not doing anything that wasn't designed for, but I just feel bad sitting there at, you know, 3,500 4K RPM to do the same speed in a DCT car where I'm at 2K, 3K RPM. It's about 1,000 or 1,500 RPMs lower for the exact same speed. And, you know, these cars, I feel like these cars are fast cars all around, but it is a little bit of a bummer having to cruise this car at such a lower speed on the freeway because I feel bad for the RPMs. And probably a lot of owners don't care. That's not something to pay attention to, but I feel too bad to sit here at 4K on the freeway and just sit there with my car, you know, singing and extremely revving the engine. And that also plays a big part in fuel economy. Obviously, if you're cruising at 2K versus 4K, the 2,000 RPMs is going to get better gas mileage than sitting there at 4,000. So that also depends on your driving style. If you have a lot of freeway driving, this car might be a little bit of a pain for you, but this is also a car where the freeway, it kind of shines in not only speed, but comfortability in the manual car, because now you don't have to sit there and play with the clutch all day. You can just sit there and cruise at a speed, and this car will be insanely fast in all gears, especially the manual. That is something that also is here with the gearing, is that this car is kind of all around faster, in my opinion, because it is shorter gears. So not only are you getting up to speed faster, but in the higher gears, it's easier for this car to get up to speed. You don't feel like you're lugging it. This car, if you floored it in 6-speed, you still have an insane amount of power, and this car will be at an insane speed and not that amount of time. And the DCT car, you can't really do that in 7th. Don't get me wrong, you can, but you definitely lug the engine more and put more wear and tear on that car doing that. Kind of the same point, but a little bit different. A DCT car, pretty obvious point here, but it is something very, very known and something that you realize right away. A DCT car, you step on the gas and that car is gone. At a light, at any throttle position, you step on that car, the car is gone off the light. The light turns green, your car is the first one out, and you look in the mirror and everyone's behind you. And that is not pushing the car. That is not using any of the power. That's literally just using the pressure of your foot, and that car is gone. And you look behind, there's nobody around. This car, you know, you pull off in first. First is extremely short. So you go in first gear, pop it into second. By the time you get to third, you look in the mirror, you're the one holding up traffic. You're the one not really shifting fast. And I can say, apparently, yes, that is due to driving conditions and how fast you are driving and shifting. But when this car is cold, and obviously I'm not gonna just smash around in this car, I'm not gonna launch from every red light. I'm not gonna launch from the red light at all. This car driving in a normal casual pattern, this car is usually, you know, not the fastest one off the light. If you want to sit there and rev it out, shift as fast as you can, rev it out, shift as fast, go ahead and do that. But in a normal setting, when you are casually driving the car, daily commute, no, this car is very slow off of the line. And again, don't get me wrong, this is in a casual sense. This car is not fast. And I've been daily driving manual for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And I definitely say that this car has very short gearing for at least first gear. First gear is extremely short. You pop it into first and you're already ready to shift. By the time you leave the red light, by the time you get into the intersection, you're already shifting, and it's just very short gearing. But once you get into third and fourth, you have no problem. You seem to catch back up, and now you're back at the front of the pack. So the first, 3 gears, it is very slow off the line. DCT car, that car just goes. By the time you pass the intersection, you're the first one out. You're in third gear, you're the first one, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then you're already, intersections away from everybody. And that's still casual driving with just the weight of your foot, not speeding, not going over the top, not using the power. It's just the way the cars are designed. You sitting here shifting is going to be much slower than that DCT, which is one of the fastest transmissions shifting for you. You're not going to beat it. That car is insanely fast with shifting. And I do miss it off the line. I do miss it daily driving. That car has an absolute amazing transmission that I think that I will miss and get back one day. And the fifth reason, I have to say that this car is more rewarding, but I feel like it's also something that, you know, is a lot riskier. Obviously DCT with the transmission shifting, that is definitely risky when you use a kick down, but as far as downshifting on the paddle, I've never heard any problems except for a few, but those are just weird issues that you always hear about. But, you know, downshifting with the paddles each time, there's really no problem. Down kick or using the kick down, obviously that's a no-go in a DCT car, especially with these M3s as themselves. But a manual car, you have the opportunity to miss gears. You have the opportunity to money shift, put it in the wrong gear. It's just a lot more risk, but it's also a lot more rewarding. A DCT car, there's really no risk. You hop in the car, you press the gas, you go. There's a gas, there's a brake, a paddle shifter, you can't go wrong. It won't let you downshift into the wrong gear. At least I don't think it will let you. I've never had the problem. I've never accidentally downshifted too far in a DCT car. And in a manual car, it's not going to stop you. You are in the freeway going to 6-speed, you might accidentally downshift into 5th, and you might hit 3rd. Or you might go down into the wrong gear, and that's it. That's all she wrote. So it is a lot riskier, and I'm not gonna lie, at least for me personally, I feel the risk and sort of a little bit of the scariness when I am driving this car and I'm in it. Hop in the DCT car, I know there's really no risk. If I wanna go fast, I'm gonna go fast. If I need to stop, I'm gonna stop. Whatever gear I wanna put it in, it's gonna go. This car, you wanna double check. Before you put it in that gear, before you dump that clutch, make sure the dash, which that is a sick feature, that it shows you what gear you're in on the dash. You might wanna go ahead and double check that. That's just something, you know, until you get used to the car, there is a lot more risk with this car. It is more riskier, it is dangerous, and I feel a little bit of the tension when driving this car. It's a very fast, modern sports car that handles like no other. Obviously, if you got a GT3, okay, but for this car in this price range, I don't think you're gonna find a faster, better, nicer sports car from the factory. This car is amazing all the way around, but with a manual car, you have the risk, but you also get that reward. So once you learn how to drive this car, I think that that risk and that scariness will go away, but I don't think it should ever leave your mind and you should get too comfortable, because that's when mistakes happen. But a DCT car, again, you kind of know this. You sit in an automatic car, you just go. You're gonna go wherever you gotta go. There's not gonna be a problem. But a manual car, you gotta put in the work, and you know, there's that risk of money shifting, missing a shift, downshifting to the wrong gear, dumping the clutch, stalling. Obviously, these cars gotta be stupid to stall. Sorry if anybody stalls, but anyways, that's basically the 5 reasons of a manual versus a DCT. I know this is kind of more manual based, but I do believe that these cars are way more special in manual. I feel like if you're gonna have a daily commuter and you're gonna get rid of that car in 2-3 years, 100% go to a DCT. If this is a car you wanna keep all year round, you wanna keep this for every season, you wanna keep this through, who knows, if you wanna have this car for multiple years, if this is a car you want to keep in your collection, then 100% go for a 6-speed. Keep the rareness and the uniqueness of this car. Most people see this car and don't think it's going to be manual, but it is, and it comes in manual. And I think that this is going to be definitely a car to hold on to. A DCT car, yes, it's an amazing car. You can keep it in a collection, but just having this car in a 6-speed is something that you're not always gonna see. It's not always something you're gonna find. If you go out in the wild and you see a DCT car, okay, it's an F80 DCT. If you go out and see one in manual, okay, now it's a little more something special. It's a little something that you don't see every so often. So again, if you're gonna daily drive it and get rid of it in 2-3 years, 100% go to a DCT. If you're gonna keep this car around, possibly forever, you want this car in a collection, 100%. 6-speed manual, keep this car all the way. And if you have the money, I would still say get this car in a 6-speed. If you want something automatic, get an M5, get an F90, get an F10, get something built for comfort and speed, and then get this a, you know, sleek sports car that handles crazy. Get this in a 6-speed. I feel like this car is meant to be 6-speed, and M5s are meant for comfortability and drivability. So I will get some clips of the F80 and DCT, but this is my 6-speed manual. I'm in love with this car. This car is a rocket ship. It handles amazingly, and being 6-speed is absolutely amazing. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let's go home and show off the DCT car a little bit. This car in manual has been an absolute blast, and especially with the auto rev matching for downshifting, you really can't go wrong. My car only turns off in Sport Plus, so even in Sport, you still get that factor. It's been an amazing car to own. I can't wait to keep this car. This is definitely a car I plan on keeping forever, and this is a car that I want to have basically in a collection. When you're shifting, it goes ahead and it tells you what gear to go up to. Don't listen to that, because that shit sometimes be saying some dumbass shit. I'm in third right now and it's telling me to go up to 6, so we're just gonna ignore that. But it's a nice little feature to have. You can't really complain that the car's trying to help you. The auto rev matching is amazing and something that I've never had before, and I do quite enjoy. We're back home, got the M5 here. Actually, for the first time in my entire life, I have lost a key for a car. I don't know how, I can't explain it. There's no reasonable explanation. The key is gone. I have somebody coming Monday to hopefully make a key from scratch, so we'll see how that goes. But we have the manual F80 looking absolutely beautiful in the driveway, and coming over here to the DCT car. This car is going to be for sale. Unfortunately, I cannot keep both. As much as I love this car, it has been absolutely amazing. Ending the video on the M5, I would definitely prefer 6-speed for keeping a car in a collection, and DCT if you plan on getting a car just for a few years for temporary use. DCT all the way. It's been an amazing car. Both have been. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below which car do you guys own and which car do you guys prefer. And like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll come back with another one. Later, guys.